So I just finished doing this rough draft and we're going to be sorting it out tomorrow, but here's the gist of it. Um, I've done a micro graph here for us to fill in the blanks on, which we should be able to rock through in the morning. But this is the stuff that we have to include. And I started doing this already with kind of doing like a pre-arrangement for a deal that we would be doing with people, including all of the Jimmies and the Marks and so on and so forth. So Jimmy's agreed to follow the process. We're doing this starting this quarter. We'll be evaluating per client. We're creating a member per project, property, or program. We're going to identify it on the other page, but we're going to create a name and an ID number. And on the lines that we're filling in with these people, the whole purpose of it is to have an identifier that we can reference back on our workflow. So this is creating a work order. And this is the kind of cheat sheet that I do. And I just did this for you because I didn't want to bring it up online. But we go through their real estate. So this is their tangible assets and property. If this is creating their proof of funds statements that we would be reviewing before agreeing to take them on as a client or a project. We go through and identify the people, the main parties, the fiduciary responsible ones, the cause or purpose, if there is one, location and duration. And then we do what we want to see, like our preferred relationship with them, how we want to see it develop out. And we put a statement in that, and it goes on our one sheet. Then we do the time, if it's going to be a one-time or a repeatable thing, and if it's an external person that came to us from out of the blue or an internal referral. And then we choose the method of engagement that we think is the best. Now we can give them more than one option to engage with us, but that engagement process is sent out as a letter of interest and preferred business relationship working class. So we'll do their bank statements. We can collect 3 to 6 months bank statements to show, and possibly more if we feel it's necessary, to calculate what they have in their account, and they give us their statements. In this scenario, I was using Jimmy because he's got real property, a real estate that he can put up as collateral. He's got $10,000 a month clear cash. He has stocks in varied portfolios that he can bring in. And then he has alternate assets. And we want to do a list of their current value and attach that. So I use the quick method of just putting varied. When we go through to do his one sheet, it'll show all the financial components that we're going to list in his need to get to us by list. The next thing that I've done for us is circle the items that most represent what we're doing and what we need. And so when we do a member verification and vetting, and if they're going to be an investor as well, then we follow the same suit. We fill out everything over here the same way as we would. So I have done a yearly kind of real numbers, use the gross capital gains if they've got a statement to show what instruments they have and what vehicles they're using. That's fine. But here's what we have. And I did a list. So we have instruments and vehicles that we use to help those that have high gross capital gains and are intending to be participating as a member or as an investor. They could choose to be a member with services, but also a member to be a donor or a contributor into the PRI. So we just need to give them the choices to choose, and they'll have the option to do so on the fill in the blank that we're creating for them. So on my list, I've got our instruments being PRI programs, government municipals, municipal bonds, debentures, convertible bonds, units of membership, stock, options and shares, CF regs. Then we have other regulated raises, the A's, B's, C's, D's, that we may be contracted to do for a client, so we have access to that. Trusts, endowments, direct funding through government, funding portals, and CF regulated operating. So if we get hired to manage the campaign and to do their campaign, then we're paid directly from the campaign, and we have salary and whatever points they give us per goal. So if they have $100,000 goal and we do 200,000, we get paid on 2 different levels. We have donor advised funds. We have multi-property. These are asset funds that we create. So if we have a group that comes together with 2-3 different projects or events that we want to do, we package them together and we leverage them into the PRI or into the funding vehicle. Structured direct impact short fund, special purpose convertible vehicles, stock, early, I guess you call them early purchases, like on a public campaign for seed funding, angel investments. So we have charitable tax-free deductions, retirement employment fund, a defined benefit fund, and then workforce rebates, the job acts, and then the labor and OSHA fund. These are vehicles that we have that we can match to both the client and to our investors. The next thing that I did was I listed out the duration and if we're going to do it one time, monthly, or yearly, or if it's going to be a combination of that. This is multi-purpose, multi-industry, and multi-service. We do plans, programs, packages, and we can do this a la carte, or we can decide what their needs are and do a special package for them. We have quite a different revenue sources that we use to bring in money to the company. We have our memberships, affiliate programs that are paid programs, paid memberships, municipal contracts, and municipal memberships, member service plans, advisory, member and consulting, professional service plans, member plans for the entertainment, multi-purpose, production, development, and post-production, including audits. This is a package deal. It comes with a service membership. Project management, A to Z in a phase plan. This is a service membership. Then we have business management, development, growth and strategy for stabilization, reemerging in the market. And then strategic community development plan and implementation with services and facilities or without, nonprofit support, outreach, revenue building, and cap raising, including our CF regs and fundraising methods. And then we have memberships that are just for tools and resources and infrastructure and plans. Basically, it's like an a la carte thing. They can pick and choose if they just want us to set up their CRM and run a campaign versus anything extra. We also have service plans for operations management, setting up benefit plans and JVs or enterprises, LPs. We also do grant making and writing, award creation and generation, issuing and doing educational certificate programs, curriculum writing, you name it, donor related business activities, and sourcing CRM and management of donors. So we get paid from all of that as well. Then we have independent artists, writers, producers, directors for their project development, grid management, producing and distribution, including financing. This is a program plus a membership. So they can enter one project or several and create their own little mini grid. We do memberships for talent placement, talent management, creating workforce and employment training. So if we have people come in that are identifying themselves as unemployed, underemployed, or gigsters, we can register them and get them through assessments. The programs typically pay for the cost of business for us doing that, but we do have a general admin fee. Sometimes we'll get them to apply if they want to get a waiver. We can do a waiver, one-time waiver. We have HR and employment related packages, handbooks, and training. We do industry specific curriculum, CRM, and employee management. We have studio management and production management. We do the HR and the onboarding with and without benefits. We do create benefit plans, investment packages, PPM and packaging and cap raising for a project. So it could be film, TV, commercial, or other. And online content is included for YouTube and other related things. And then lastly is our global and national projects. We do phase plan, community development, global development based on cause specific activities and economics, environmental, human, planet, space, tech, things like that, natural resources. So once we've identified the revenue source that it matches up with, what their needs are, then we can get into the funding form, the sources and agencies and things that we're going to be aligning with that, and what the requirements are from us, and we add that into their membership. So if it's like going to take us a week or 2 weeks to do something on the list here that they want, then we may choose a special vehicle that we know may produce quicker or faster to match up with that to help us and them. And then we write out what the requirements are for that, for the membership, and create a registration process. And then if they are registered or are not registered with the government, we ask them in that solicitation letter in the beginning when we're asking them all this kind of stuff. We go ahead and ask them if they're registered. And if they're not, then we can make an option on that sheet to get them involved. Some of the things that come with what we're doing give us access to non-recourse lending, special types of loans. So if we can see that they have good cash flow and they have good assets, we can go ahead and look at what type of things that they may qualify for in the financial industry. So if we could do non-recourse loans from the government based on the amount of projects and workflow that we're doing per community, then that's a leverage that we have to implement. Of course, we have to look at each of these things a la carte, because we need to know if they need to be registered to receive or be a recipient to any grants or awards and incentives. We also have our all-in-one secured platform, so if we need to do a cap raise or look at anything else as zones and economic, funding sources from Department of Labor or anywhere else, this is up to us to make that determination in our evaluation sheet. So using all of this, we'll be going through each and every one of our current people that we're working with and make our spreadsheet. This is what's going to go into the grid essentially and create our workflow. The second piece of the puzzle is creating our timeline. This is from now until the end of December. We're going to be doing, basically creating this is a makeshift Excel sheet. We're going to fill in the scenario, pick the class and type, define the relationship, and do a little mini statement of what it is, and then assess the duration and the scenario, like the project or the workflow. Essentially, what we have to do is we have to determine the class. So if it's an entertainment class, affiliate, if it's going to be an individual or sole proprietor, some kind of entrepreneur, if it's a studio or agency or some kind of like entity, if it's corporate, if it's a group or just like, some uniform thing that's like a bunch of people all together. And then if it's an entertainment thing that we identify what type. Now we got to go into deliverables and we have to define that out. So we click the box here and then we go into writing and filling in the blank. This would give link to the tab that we've created a one sheet for with all this stuff on it. And it would be hyperlinked into our grid. So we want to go through looking at if we're going to be doing advising and consulting, we click the box. So they have service plus advising and consulting. Is it going to be a project? Click the box. If it's going to be some type of production, click the box. If it's an event, click the box. If it's multiple things, we're clicking the box. It's an online property. Is it going to require government stuff? And then is it going to require us to have any packaging or donor related information and things that we're doing for funding? Click the box. So if it's a business to business member that we're creating and they happen to be also kind of merging into things that are entertainment related, we can go ahead and click an extra class that's like a business to business member. It can be a private foundation or a government agency, foreign agency, or nonprofit. Private foundation 501, and we define as C6 or 7 or 8. It could be a chamber or a government agency or something other, and we just fill it in here. These are helping us to determine the type and class of things, and it gets really easy when we're filling things out and using one by one with an identifier number, because all the information gets plugged in on one line item because you're creating one sheet that identifies everything and you're just clicking the boxes. The next scenario is for us to identify the program or cause, and we just match it up. So if we're evaluating the entire scenario per one project, one scenario, the next thing I'm doing is going through and evaluating which program is going to match up to whatever that client or project is. It might be unrelated. If it's unrelated, then I always put it under program number 1 because it's going to be economic development, job creation, either which way. And then we look at the timeline of things when it's happening, because we're going to have this broken down over the months. So as I make my event list, this is going to have the program and the matching events on our timeline. So if we have anybody that we're working with that's also got an event or a show during that month or that period, we go ahead and put a star and highlight it in a box for that program. Then it populates on my timeline, so we can have a conversation about dialing things in for each of the projects that we want to see done on our end, like what kind of style, what kind of event. Do we need to do a VIP dinner and fundraiser? or is it going to be more for fun, whatever we want to do. And we always have 4 events, major events a year, plus our year end. And then we do a VIP thank you event for all of our people that helped us. And then we do our New Year's event. And that's the one that's kicking us off with all of our program initiatives and what our core causes are. We've dedicated our programs to for that year and open it up for public participation and contribution. Every event has that. We have to make sure that we stipulate for each event that this event's going over the causes and the purposes and the projects that are program related for that particular arena of causes and purposes. So the next thing that we do is this is the final solution. So basically the example is we do the list of the name of the party, and the example is their name. Then the next thing is the project or production or whatever it is that we're doing for them to match to our game plan above. So if we have something that's kind of going same side, same cause or same an issue, then we just mark it and it becomes program related immediately. So we will go through the member class. We'll create the deal memo, the MOU, the service agreement, project breakdown, and summary. We'll define ownership or no ownership and our shares or compensation. Define the services, the holes and the needs, and we'll budget out our cost to us to do what it is that they're needing. And then we'll send them over a proposed budget and timeline. At the end, if they say yes, no, maybe, or whatever, we'll have options for discussion and negotiation, because we'll have gone through all of their variables too to see what they might qualify for, what vehicles might match up best, and if we have revenue systems that are in place that we can partner with them on that'll make things happen quicker for us, then I always say list it in the options, because it may not be any skin off my nose or yours to go ahead and apply or submit for a funding structure like a grant or something we know that we're going to be able to get. And we just list their EIN number on it if they're eligible. If it's something that requires me to go through a arduous process of registration, then I'll say save it for the next quarter and they get it on the next round, and it gives us time to get them registered. The second page or the second paragraph that we put into our one sheet for them is the duration, location, time frame, and deliverables, anything that's due by from their end. So if they need us to be in Seattle somewhere or Vegas, that's all going to get budgeted out, and then the timeline for that. Any additional jobs that we're going to be having to bring on or people will have to hire, how many jobs we're creating, or how many people are already engaged that we're assessing, so we can do current existing staff versus what we're bringing in to complete the job or to do the service or whatever. And then the time frame, and will it continue or will it be a one-time thing? The next is cause related, purpose, and our activities. What, where, why, and for what are we doing this for? And then the core associations. So those are the people, businesses, high net worth people, or celebs that we're going to be working with in that scenario. If it's just regular people, that's public. We just leave it as public. If there's a cap raise or some kind of scenario that requires us to do some money making, I call it the snowfall. If we need to make snowfall, then that means we need to add an additional layer of funding to basically cover our cost of doing the cap raise, and that gets written into the service and project agreement. Budgeting for both the cause activities of what we're doing, meaning whatever's falling in this timeline, that's our, it's above the line costs. So we have to include that in our breakdown and assertions for what it exactly is that we're doing. And if it's going to take us away from another project or another event that we're committed to as mandatory, then we increase the cost of our time and resources to have allocation for resources, i.e., a replacement producer or other staff that can help us manage that, and we bump it out to meet the requirements for our clients. So we let them know, okay, we aren't available on these days, but we are available on these days, and it'll cost a little bit more, but we can get it done. You know what I mean? So the last little piece is budget above the line and below the line for a cap raise. So we can always have the month to month totals, meaning our cost of business, labor and expenses, and our quarterly cost, labor and expenses, and our year to date. Because whatever we have that gets pushed into the next year gets a little extra money from next year's fund to help us finish out anything that we didn't get done from this year. And that is a wrap. So we'll be doing this pretty much tomorrow. I tried to get it the best I could written out for us, essentially what we have to do so it can get done line by line per project. And we'll finish working on the rest tomorrow. I'm going to go eat. Talk to you soon.